Oh, welcome to Ole Walls house. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls, and I'm back with you. Episode 1 of 59 coming your way. Before we get there, I just want to start off saying thank you to everybody. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the watches. Appreciate the listens. And as always, going to hit you guys with a little bit of that housekeeping. A little housekeeping for you. If you guys could, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, and share. Let everybody know Ole Walls House is the place to be. Spotify, Apple Pods, Amazon Pods, YouTube. You can find us on all those places. Ole Walls House is what you search, and you can find it. Fun show coming. We're talking college football national championship. We're talking another round of the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. There's been some golf going on. A lot of fun stuff. So without any further ado, let's just dive right in. NFL Divisional Round in the books. We are down to 4 teams. The Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC, the Commanders and the Eagles in the NFC. We had some very good games. We had some very fun games this weekend. It starts off Chiefs-Texans. We'll move in chronological order here. The Chiefs get it done again. I didn't see a whole lot of this game. I did see portions of both games on Saturday. Was at a golf simulator for much of when the games are going on. Was kind of watching on my phone a little bit. More on that golf simulator later in my experience. I wasn't doing a whole lot of golf, but that'll come. That'll come probably in some passing thoughts. But the Chiefs get it done. And in what's going to be a theme you'll notice here this weekend, the Chiefs are outgained by over 100 yards. Almost all of them on the ground. The Texans ran for 149 yards. The Chiefs ran for 50. Now, I know there was a questionable call late in the game that Pat Mahomes was the beneficiary of. Again, I actually haven't even seen it to this point. But, the Chiefs, once again, sneak by, get it done. It's not a one-score game, but, it was a close one. It was, just 9 points. Just 9 points, and that was, after, just having a 1-point lead after the third quarter. They get a touchdown and a field goal, and there's a safety late in the game. I believe that did something to some numbers. But, yeah, outgained. Mahomes, nothing great. I mean, 16 of 25 for $177. I mean, you're not writing home to mama about that one. But the Chiefs move on to the AFC Championship game. That is their, let me count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in a row. 7 in a row. Ay caramba. Dating back to 2010, Pat Mahomes or Tom Brady have been in every AFC Championship game. Brady and Mahomes faced off in 2018, and that was the end of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year streak for Brady in the AFC Championship game. So 15 straight years of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 15 straight years of Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady. You got to go all the way back to 2010 when the Mark Sanchez, that's him. Mark Sanchez led New York Jets faced off against Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. The Steelers went on to the Super Bowl. Not victorious in that Super Bowl. Go Pat, go. But yeah, that's a crazy run of, 2 great quarterbacks. And that's kind of on the heels of, there was a stretch where for however many years it was, I'd have to double check it, but I think it was like 10, 12, 15 years itself of Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger in every AFC Championship game up to that point. So, and I also saw something that if you go looking back, since 1996, when the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl, there's only been like 13 teams that have won a Super Bowl. So, it's funny. It's a league that preaches parity. There is a lot of parity, day to day, any given Sunday. But it seems like the top dogs have been the top dogs in the NFL. And that's going to continue at least for this year with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills. Moving on, the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders take down the Detroit Lions. The 15-2 going into this Detroit Lions. And again, I told you this was going to be a theme. the Detroit Lions outgain the Washington Commanders, only by about 40 yards. But the story of this one, turnovers. 4 interceptions for the Lions. I believe only 3 of those accounted to Jared Goff. Jameson Williams ended up throwing one on a little bit of a trick play. But this was the story of a massive second quarter from the Washington Commanders. This was about the time I was unavailable to watch, but we were kind of checking in on the phone at this point. 28 second quarter points for the Commanders. And they got a touchdown late to go from 24-21 up to 31-21 going into the half. Excuse me. The Lions cut it down in the third quarter with a Jahmyr Gibbs run, but couple more touchdowns in the fourth quarter iced this one away, and the Lions go down. Jared Goff got absolutely lit up on a 40-yard interception return by Quan Martin. He got absolutely lit up by somebody blocking downfield. I forget who, but down go the Lions. And here's another interesting stat. The NFC North. Where did this go? I had this. I saw it before. Oh, no. Did I lose? How do I lose things that I know I have, that I've seen? Here we go. Packers, Lions, Vikings. They had a 14-1 record against the AFC South this year. You might say their records got a little inflated because of the draw they got. It's very possible to think that after they all bow out after one game. NFC North. 3 teams in the playoffs, like 12, how many wins between 40 some wins between them? 41 was it? 0-3 in the playoffs. And if you look at the AFC South that they played, it's not the greatest division. Texans, Colts, Jags, Titans. Beat up on them 14-1. So, you wonder. Was that, or is it just the NFL playoffs? Like, the NFL playoffs can just be weird. The team that performs best. I mean, I don't think anyone was doubting the Lions that they were a good team coming into this week. I think you could have said that more about the Packers and the Vikings, that, hey, they're not as for real. But I think people thought that about the Lions. And Jaden Daniels played a good football game, man. 22 of 31 for 29 I can't speak. 22 of 31 for 299 yards. Ran for another 51, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't turn the ball over. That was the story of this game. The Lions turned the ball over. The Commanders did not. They got a nice game out of Brian Robinson, 77 yards. Austin Eckler chipped in with 47 yards. The Commanders are fun, man. They're a fun team. The future looks bright. There's always the worry that, the second-year quarterback could fall apart. The Washington franchise has seen that before. Robert Griffin III had a great first year, but what a turnaround for the Commanders. New owner, new quarterback, and they just flipped this thing around. They made some moves. They got some good dudes in there, and they're going to the NFC title game. First time since, I forget what, 94 or something. Did somebody say 92 maybe? But the Commanders are back in the NFC title game. Well, they'll run into the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles game can be summed up by one man, Saquon Barkley. 26 carries, 205 yards. He busted off 2 monsters. He busted one for 78 yards, and he actually had a second one in there. That was the second one. The first one in the first quarter was a 62-yard run, and then a 70-yard run in the fourth quarter. And then Jalen Hurts also banged out a 44-yard run to open the scoring. So they busted out some big runs as the snow came down there. And once again, I'm going to point something out to you. The Eagles were outgained 402 yards to 350. Total passing yards for the Eagles due to sacks and things, because they take the sacks off the passing yards in the NFL. Just 65 total yards. Jalen Hurts did throw for 128 yards. He has never thrown for over 200 yards in one of his playoff wins. Never thrown for over 200 yards. Just absolutely wild. 2 fumbles lost by the Rams. That kind of cost them. They made a little bit of a push at the end of the game, but just, couldn't quite pull it off. They got a touchdown with just under 3 minutes left, but they didn't have the gas to bring it the rest of the way. And Saquon's just a beast, man. Just an absolute beast. He's just a big play waiting to happen. And the Eagles worked themselves back after a rough year last year. I mean, they started out 10-0 or 10-1 or something like that, and then kind of fell apart. They've redeemed themselves this year. But the question is going to be, can they, if they have to, pick up yards through the air? Now, if you got Saquon just busting off multiple 50-plus yard runs, 60-plus yard runs, maybe that's not an issue, and you don't have to. But you have to think eventually it seems like it's got to catch up with them. Can the Commanders be the one that makes that catch up to them? We're going to find out. But, man, it's worrisome. If I were an Eagles fan, I would be worried about that. That when you need it, can you get it through the air? If you get to that situation in a game where you got to drive down the field late and you can't just rely on the run. You don't have time to rely on the run. You've got one timeout. You've got a minute and a half. If Saquon doesn't bust the big one, and you can't just pound the rock down the field, can you trust Jalen Hurts? He's never thrown for over 200 yards in a playoff win. You never know. It's hard. It's hard to tell. Then we head over to the final game. A great game. Great game, man. The Buffalo Bills take down the Baltimore Ravens. Just fun game this was the whole time. Bills got out to a nice lead in the first half, 21-10. That was on the backs of a couple of Lamar Jackson turnovers. He had a fumble. They got taken way down by Von Miller and also threw an interception. The first half, there'd always been the stuff there. There's regular season Lamar Jackson, and then there's playoff Lamar Jackson. The first half was that playoff Lamar Jackson that everybody talked about. And the Bills took advantage. The second half, Lamar Jackson, he got it together. He played a good game the rest of the way. He ended up finishing off 18-25 for 254, 2 TDs. The fumble in the first half and the interception in the first half, that's tough. But he did what he needed to do in the second half. Nobody's ever going to play a perfect game. But he's judged at a higher standard because of the way he plays in the regular season. He's so impressive. He's got so much talent that he sets his own bar so high that when he doesn't always live up to it, he's going to hear about it. Is it fair? Probably not. But it's just the way it is. It's just until you've, racked up a Super Bowl or two and you have that reputation, there's always one of those guys, right? There's a Matt Stafford. Can't get his team to the playoffs. They get to the playoffs a couple times in Detroit. They can't win the big one. And then he wins in LA. It takes away some of those detractors. And unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, that's just something he's going to have to deal with right now. But he's young. The Ravens are a good franchise. You have to think they're going to do it. There was a stat that every 12 years they win a Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl after the 2000 season with a 28-year-old Trent Dilfer. I think it was 28 every time. And then in 2012 they win it with Joe Flacco, 28 years old, and then Lamar Jackson. Whatever the age is. How old's Lamar Jackson? I don't think he's 28, is he? Maybe it's 25. No, he's 28. It was 28. So it was, 28-year-old Lamar Jackson, 2024. So that breaks. We break that one. But the Bills did what they had to do, man. And Josh Allen didn't turn the ball over. It wasn't a crazy great game from him, but did what he had to do. 16-22, just 127 yards for the air. 10 carries for 20 yards, 2 TDs on that. But they did what they had to do. They didn't turn the ball over. And once again, the Baltimore Ravens outgained the hell out of the Buffalo Bills. All 4 winners were outgained by the teams they played this weekend. And this one, 416 total yards to 273 total yards. A lot of difference. But it comes down to the turnovers. And the second set of the last turnover, they had 3 turnovers in the game, the Ravens, to 2 Lamar in the first half, and then the Mark Andrews fumble in the second half, and then the moment of the game, the Ravens have a chance to get the 2-point conversion and tie the game. Lamar Jackson rolls out to Mark Andrews, hits him right in the hands. If you want to be super, like the most nitpicky you could be about the pass, it could have maybe been out in front of him a little more, but the fault was not with Lamar Jackson there. That ball has to be caught, and Mark Andrews is in the end zone. That's happened to them now 3 times, I believe. Happened against, was it the Chiefs? And then it also happened against the Steelers way back, and Mark Andrews just dropped 3 of them. I'll tell you what, I would not want to be Mark Andrews. Fantastic player, a fantastic career. But those 2 in the second half, the fumble and the drop, this comes down to basically the Ravens beat themselves. The only thing I will say that really is something that sticks to me here in this, when the Ravens scored in the third quarter, and I'm not like second guessing this decision. In hindsight, 2020, right? But they scored to make it 21-19, went for 2, didn't get it. So now it's 21-19. The Bills end up kicking 2 more field goals. It's 27-19. Had they just kicked the extra point there at the end of the third quarter, but it was late in the third quarter. There's only a minute 30 left. So they went for 2. Had they just kicked the extra point, all they'd have to do is kick the extra point and tie the game up. But again, you can't second guess that. I'm very okay with you going for 2 in that situation. But yeah, turnovers killed the Ravens. That was a game they should have won. They beat themselves, and the Buffalo Bills did not. They said, if people are going to make mistakes in this game, it's not going to be us. And they got through with it. So we are on to the conference championship. The Chiefs will host the Bills. The Eagles will host the Commanders. I believe the Commanders game is first. Yep, Commanders-Eagles is the early game, 3 o'clock for those of you on the East Coast, and then 6:30 for those of you on the East Coast, where it'll be when Bills-Chiefs come on, and looking forward to it. Divisional rounds, probably my favorite round because you get the Saturday games too, and then you get the Sunday games in the better time slots. That I just like that the late game doesn't start at 8 o'clock. It starts at 6:30 and 5:30 my time. But conference championship Sunday is awesome too. I love the playoffs. I love them. All right, let's move on. College football playoffs. The national championship game is over. The Ohio State Buckeyes take down the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and this thing looked like it was about to get ugly, and the Irish brought it back. But, I mean, wild start to the game. Notre Dame goes on like an 18-play drive, takes up almost 10 minutes of the game. 10 minutes. Drive down, first touchdown. Riley Leonard runs it in. And it's like the first play, Ohio State was all in the backfield. I think sacked Riley Leonard, and maybe he was trying to run, or it was a run. Whatever it was, I was like, oh, just what I thought. Ohio State is going to take it to them. They're going to cover no problem, and we're off and running. Then they drive it right down the field and just march it down the field. And I'm like, oh, man. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Notre Dame's here to play. They're going to give it to them. Then there was a touchdown. Then there was another touchdown. Then there was another touchdown. Then there was another touchdown. All of a sudden, right out of half, it's 28-7. There was a touchdown right at the end of the half, and a touchdown right to start the third quarter. And all of a sudden, a game it felt like Notre Dame was in, it felt like they had no chance. Quinshon Judkins, 3 touchdowns. What a day. Have a day, young man. And then they get a field goal to go up 31-7. And it's like, it's over. It's midway through the third quarter. This thing is over. Notre Dame, not going down without a fight, though. They get a touchdown in the third. They get a touchdown late in the fourth. They pick up the 2-point conversions on both of them. Gotta have them. They're going to need 3 2-point conversions on top of 3 touchdowns. And one of the odder things I saw in this game, though, was the decision to kick a field goal in the fourth quarter. They ended up missing it. They were down 2 scores at the time, and the field goal would have still made it a 2-score game. They were down 16 at the time they attempted the field goal and missed it from short, all the way on the right hash. What was weird was they ran a play to get him way over to the right hash instead of kind of going up the middle or maybe like getting it more towards the middle of the field. Missed the field goal, but they were down 16, which made them down 13. They still would have had to score 2 touchdowns. Granted, you take the 2-point conversion play out of play, but like, wouldn't you rather just have a chance to score a touchdown from the 8-yard line? I don't know. That was weird. But either way, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish don't go down without a fight. And even down to the last time Ohio State had the ball, they had him in third and I think 8 or 9, and they sent the blitz. They had one-on-one coverage out on the edge, and Jeremiah Smith got by, and Will Howard dropped a great pass to him. They end up running a couple more plays, run the clock down to just under 30 seconds, and the little scrawny Ohio State field goal kicker bangs it in and make it an 11-point game with just under 30 seconds left, and that was it. That was also I had Ohio State -8 in that game, so that covered the -8. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw the over-under closed at 46 or 46.5. That took it to 47. So I would guess that was not the result that Vegas wanted there. I would guess they were probably over, and Ohio State were probably the predominant picks. And that last field goal at the end, they probably could have done with the ball getting, just run to the 40 and, kneel it out. That probably would have been more preferable for him, but that is not what happened. Worked out in my favor. But this was an interesting thing. It felt like sometime around the middle of the third quarter that Ohio State kind of took their foot off the gas. And hey, I get it. You're up 31-7, but it just felt like they started playing to not lose. But hey, on credit to that final play call on that third down. If they're like, hey, if we get the single coverage on the outside that we think it's going to happen if they bring the blitz, we're going deep to Jeremiah Smith. We're going deep to our guy. And Ohio State's guys were dudes. Jeremiah Smith, 5 catches, 88 yards and a touchdown. Quinshon Judkins, 11 carries for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then through the air, he caught a couple passes for one for a touchdown too. And Will Howard played a great game, 17-21, 231. That's what you want. That's what you want. Only 1 turnover. They lost a fumble, but they played a pretty darn good game. And I saw some of this stuff floating around. 12-team playoff, total failure. The 8th and 7th ranked teams were in the national championship. Well, the rankings were wrong. I think we can all agree that the rankings were wrong, and that needs to be tweaked for last year. But this guy, John Ziegler. Zygmunt Freud on the X. Congratulations, everyone who wanted this 12-team playoff. You somehow managed to make the 2 biggest upset losses of the regular season completely meaningless and probably helpful to the teams which got beat. Oh, and neither finalist even played a conference title game. Conference title games in football are kind of dumb, if you ask me, but whatever. But, do we want to crown the best team? Or do we want to crown the team who just had a good regular season? You want to play it out on the field. And the team who beat Ohio State, they got their chance. And Ohio State beat them the second time. Ohio State won 4 games to go do this. They didn't just sneak in. They didn't have an easy path. Notre Dame had the easier path. And yeah, Notre Dame lost 1 game to Northern Illinois early in the season. And then won 12 games in a row to get to this point. The national championship was decided on the field this year. And yeah, some teams had a different path than others. But Ohio State went through Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame. They're in some form of that, or 4 top 10 teams in whatever ranking you want to put them in. Were the Boise State Arizona State getting the buys the right thing? No. And I'm hopeful that they fix that going forward. But I just don't get this argument that deciding the national champion on the field with an acceptable number of teams that should be playing to decide that is the wrong move. I don't get it. I'll never get it. I'll never get to people like, oh, we had it right with the BCS. What are you talking about? 2 teams just getting randomly picked? We've seen that, especially in today's world where these conferences are so big that the schedules are going to get wacky. You're going to have years where, like, Indiana has an easy Big Ten schedule, and it falls that way. And they played the 2 teams in the national championship last year. Is it their fault that those teams were down? No. They played the teams that they could, and they beat them. They got a chance in the playoffs. They couldn't get it done. Notre Dame took it to them. I would much rather have that decided on the field than say, hey, this team plays in that conference, so we have to put them in because of that. And there's only 4 teams. And now we're left out with teams. I think this is the best argument that 4 was never enough. That Notre Dame might have been in. Notre Dame might have been in. But Ohio State wasn't going to be in. And we talked all year long about how talented this Ohio State football team was. The money they spent to bring in the people, which I think always was kind of a little bit. And I hate that I'm standing up for Ohio State here. I hate Ohio State. But like they brought back like 9 of 11 guys on defense. They didn't like totally recreate their team through the portal. But like they brought in some key pieces. And this was the $20 million team. And we knew they were, like we said, everybody said, this is one of, if not the most talented teams. I mean, Texas was up there in some conversations as well throughout the year. And they got a chance to show it on the field in the playoffs when it mattered most. So for those of you who are complaining about a 12-team playoff, if you want to complain about the rankings, I'm right on board. If you want to say a 12-team playoffs is bad for college football, nope, won't do it. Won't buy into that bullshit. I will not. It was good. It was a great year for college football. It was exciting. It was fun. A lot of intrigue, a lot of discussion. There's teams that, you're talking about seeding, where you're going to fall in seeding. And if we just go to ranking the best 12 teams, and hey, if you want to keep giving the conferences automatic entry, so, 4 auto bids, then the next best 8, I think that's going to give a lot of intrigue for how the rankings. Can you get yourself to the bye? Can you get in the top 4 to get to the bye? Can you get to the next 4 to host the game? And it's all based on the ranking. I think that's a good thing moving forward. And I'm never going to be on the side of the people who say the 12-team playoff is bad. All right, let's spin through some other sports here. Flyers, 3 of 4 last week. 3 of 4. They even dropping one to the Blue Jackets in overtime in a shootout. They at least get the point out. So 7-point week. 7-point week. That was nice. Red Wings, Rangers, Islanders this week. They play tonight here shortly. Red Wings, there's another good chance to stack another win. The Rangers aren't, crazy good. They're the same team as us, basically. 48 points, 22-20-4, 21-20-6 is the Flyers. So, again, 2 very winnable games. And then the Islanders, who stink. The Islanders stink. They don't really stink that much. They're just slightly worse than the Flyers. But, I mean, it's 48 points, 46, and 45. Like, these are all winnable games. Flyers have won 2 in a row. They've won 5 of their last 10 with 2 ties in there that they should have probably won. But hey, there's another week here that the Flyers can keep this thing rolling. I think they got to keep the pedal to the metal. Let's create some good momentum here, people. They're not too far out of this thing. Let me get the standings up here. Of the 3rd spot in their division, they're out. They're 10 points back in the New Jersey Devils. I think the Devils have come back to earth a little bit. The Caps, 67. Leading the entire NHL. They stunk last year. Wild card, only 4 points back. 4 points back. The team they're chasing has already played one more game than them, the Bruins. So get a win. Get a win. 2 points back. Let's get it happening. There's 3 wins out there this week, boys. There's 3 wins. Let's Big Meech and the boys, TK, Travis Konechny, let's get it fired up. Tar Heels split with the California ACC schools. Yes, yep. It's never going to stop sounding weird. California ACC schools. The ACC stands for Atlantic Coast Conference. Atlantic Coast Conference. And California and Stanford are in it. I don't think it's any surprise that the first game that Ian Jackson has had that's been a stinker is against Stanford, since he's kind of started on this run, and they lose. I think this team's going to go as Ian Jackson goes. As crazy as that is, when you've got RJ Davis on your team, and he played a better game, he scored 19 points. He just hasn't been as good this year. And Ian Jackson only ended up with 6 points. So, 5 of 18 from 3 isn't going to get it done. Shot the free throws well. 20 of 24. But yeah, this team's just not great. That's just the catch here. Is Hubert Davis a good coach? Maybe not. UNC plays Wake Forest tonight on a late one, and then Saturday they got Boston College. I don't think either of those teams are very good. Oh, Wake Forest isn't 14-4. I thought they stunk. I don't know Boston College. Boston College any good? No, Boston College stinks. They're 9-9, 1-6 in the conference. Duke leads the ACC at 8-0. We got a couple weeks before Duke comes to town, or we go to Duke. I forget which way we go first. To Duke, Saturday, February 1st. Won't be seeing much of that. That's going to be the first Carolina-Duke game I've missed in forever. Forever. Wow. Crazy. PGA Tour, Sepp Straka stays away from the field. Justin Thomas, 6 under final round, finishes 2 back. He's showing some life. Pat Cantlay, a little sighting. Who else do we see here? Nick Taylor shoots a little 5 under to climb the leaderboard, finish T11. Daniel Berger, T14 after a rough Sunday, 1 over. Sam Burns, 5 under. So we're at Farmers this week. We're starting I always consider the American Express like the last one before it gets interesting. Farmers, they're going to go Wednesday to Saturday this week, and then AT&T Pebble Beach. Like, this is where I consider the golf season to start. So Farmers, I think the field at the Farmers is kind of rough. They're going to be going back to Torrey Pines, it seems, in replace of the Riviera event. I think that stinks. I would have loved to see them just play back-to-back at Phoenix instead. But yeah, we got Farmers, Pebble Beach, Phoenix, Genesis, Mexico, and then Cognizant when you go to the Florida swing. But the West Coast swing here, it's a great stretch. It's too bad Riv's not going to happen. Obviously quite extenuating circumstances there, but Farmers this week, let me just spin through. We've got here Charlie Hoffman, Kevin Streelman still plays golf. Joel Damon, Garrick Higo. I'm literally just naming names I know. Daniel Berger. This is a Jake Knapp. Francesco Molinari. This is a rough field. Keegan. Will Zalatoris. Does Will Zalatoris get it done this year? Does he get back in the winner's circle? This is a rough field. Oofta. Okay, let's go Let's go passing thoughts time. Time for some passing thoughts. Where do we want to start? Let's do this. Bob Uecker. R.I.P. Bob Uecker. Just a bit outside. Tried the corner and missed. The longtime radio announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers, and also fondly remembered for maybe my favorite movie ever, Major League, where he plays Harry Doyle, the voice of the Cleveland Indians. Just an incredible performance, a wild announcer in real life as well, but just dials it up to 1 million in that. So, R.I.P. Bob. What a What a guy. What a guy. There is a push around the world to, they always say, do away with daylight savings time. You don't actually want to do away with daylight savings time, is what these people are saying. They want to do away with standard time and just stay on daylight savings time all year, so it's darker later in the winter. But that push, I've never been a fan of it. Like, I don't want it to be, and I live on a very eastern part of a time zone, and I don't want it to be dark at 7:30 in the morning. I was out in Nebraska last week, and with the changing of the clocks, it was pitch black out there at 7:30 in the morning. Could you imagine that you don't change the clocks and it is just dark as shit at 8:30 in the morning, like 9 o'clock before the sun comes up? No, I don't want that in the world. Yes, I understand it gets dark early. It sucks. The days are shorter. It sucks. But like, I don't need it getting dark. I mean, I don't need it being dark at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, I would lose my mind. I'd lose it. Like, you'd be at work for an hour before the sun came up. An hour. Like, just can't be done. Ay caramba. I thought this was a fun stat. Most MLB seasons stealing at least one base without being caught. Greg Maddux, 10 in a row. Greg Maddux. I was out this weekend. Was that friend of the program, Matt Waiters. A little surprise. A couple of us got in, saw the old man for his birthday. Got back. It was -12 here. Just a balmy -12. That was not fun. Not fun. I forgot. Also, when I was out in Nebraska, going out farms, you get off the beaten road, the paved road. You get onto some dirt roads. You get to the more rural parts of the country, and the dirt roads expand. But even then, there are paved roads everywhere. Like, it just hit me. I'm like, there are roads everywhere in this country, and most of them are paved. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You can go all over the country, and there are paved roads. Like, I don't know why I'd never thought of it. I drive a ton, obviously. And just roads being paved is one of the more ridiculous things. Like, when you just stop and think about it. I was just driving. I was like, these roads, like, I drive on paved roads all over, not just interstates. Like, you get off the interstate. There's roads that run parallel to the interstates. Every little town has paved roads. It's just, I don't know. Maybe you don't find it as interesting. I did. I thought it was crazy. Just the thought of just paved roads everywhere kind of boggled my mind a little bit. Just boggled my mind. Flew this weekend, and you know what I always forget? I usually fly small planes. I forget just how damn long it takes when you're on a big plane to load the plane, to get off the plane. And, everyone's got to get their back. Everyone's got to stand up. We got to do that. Like, I was in the back too. Like, it just takes forever. And then you land at a big airport. Like, you land at Chicago. It took like 35 minutes from landing to getting to the gate to getting off the plane. And then the plane like heats up like 12 degrees when you're on the ground. And like all of a sudden you're sweating. You're like, oh, then you don't feel good because you're sweating and you're hot and you're stuck. It's the worst. It's the worst. I said I'd mention a little bit about playing some simulator golf. I didn't do much of it. I mostly just sat there and had a couple beers. Went with some of the boys. Place we went to had TVs up, sporadically around. I said, hey, then they weren't on anything. And the football games were on. I said I was watching them on my phone. I was watching my phone because one of the people walked by like, hey, anything we can do? I'm like, hey, we're like, hey, could we throw some of the NFL games up on these TVs that just aren't showing anything? It was not like they were showing something like that someone else had requested. We're like, oh, no, we can't. Someone else has requested it. He goes, yeah, we usually just play golf. I'm like, what? Like, only? Like, people are in here that like other sports too, right? He's like, nah, we just play golf. And then a little bit after that, they put on a replay of the American Express that I think also took like 6 hours for the final group. But yeah, that was incredible. It was like, yeah, we're just not putting anything on TV except a replay of the American Express from earlier today that Sepp Straka won by 2 without any real drama. Just absolutely incredible. But yeah, on the golf front, I'd been cleared post knee surgery to take some swings. The guy told me, hey, just work into it. Took a couple little half wedges. Took a couple of 150 yard, 160 yard shots. Oh, there is no club head speed right now. And it was hard for me to trust that I could, send the pressure, send the body weight, send the body to the left side, really get through the ball. We were not getting it there from $150. From 80, I was fine. I could flip a wedge, but from $150, it wasn't pretty. So we're gonna have a long road back here this golf season. So that's gonna be awesome. Just awesome. Can't wait. All right, let's go wrap this thing up. Closing time, everybody. Just want to say thank you to everyone. I appreciate you. I appreciate the support, appreciate the watches, the listens, everything. As always, just do me a favor, rate, review, comment, subscribe, share. You know the deal. Thanks, producer Kevy, as always. Back next week. Like I said, golf season starts. We got conference championships. No more football, so no more college football, so golf's gonna take a more prominent role. We got the Flyers, the Heels. We're breaking down the conference championships. In 2 weeks, we'll do some Super Bowl preview stuff. So fun shows coming forward. I'll work some other stuff in here too. We get a little more adventurous and we get a little more time on our hands. Don't forget, check out MJ over at the Full Range Podcast on Spotify, the Full Range Podcast, and then head to the Ole Walls House YouTube page to check that out. So till next week, peace.